Super Rugby round 18. Saturday games, the final four games, very different. The first two are kind of nothing games because nothing is going to change for any of these teams. Realistically, I mean, the Brumbies could get a spot higher. The Hurricanes are fixed. The Blues, their spot doesn't really matter where it's going to be. Likewise, the Reds. Stormers Sharks game is absolute do or die. And the Bulls and Lions, kind of with the least to do, but still things to play for there. I mean, nobody wants to finish in that 8th spot with a trip to Christchurch on the card, so they will be putting in as good a performance as they can. I just forgot one thing. Bear with me a tick. Right, the thing I forgot was this. Brumbies hat. Brumbies horseshoe bottle opener. And a series of Brumbies flags, one of which is here and one of which is here. That's been signed by Christian Lealifano and Joe Powell. Let's come through from Jesse. Thank you muchly for that, Jesse. Very much appreciated. More kit for the channel. Always very cool, especially signed stuff. Even better. Yeah, with the Brumbies putting in good performances, that's kind of excellent timing that it arrived just before I do this video. But yeah, the first game, Hurricanes against Blues. As I said, there's kind of not a whole lot going on with that. The Hurricanes are going to finish 4th no matter what. Their spot is locked in. They're guaranteed a quarterfinal spot. The Blues, well, if you're out of the top 8, does it really matter where you finish? Probably nobody's going to remember in a year's time. They'll just know they didn't make the playoffs. But Hurricanes have named a pretty mixed lineup, I would assume, with one eye on the game next week because there's no Barretts in the team for the Hurricanes this week. You got James Marshall at fullback and Jackson Garden-Bishop, who we haven't seen for a while, at 10. Richard Judd is in at 9, but TJ Perenara is still on the bench. Likewise, Adi Savia is on the bench. Almoa is on the bench and Coles gets a start, so there's no Riccatelli. Coles, I guess, probably needs to keep getting more match fitness because he seems to be pretty much back to 100%, but it'd be nice for him to get a string of games together. Also, Reasi's on the wing. Denny Toala, new name for me, is in the midfield alongside Peter Umaga Jensen. So yeah, it's definitely a mixed up team for the Hurricanes, given that the result of this game, it's not going to mean a whole lot for them. For the Blues, the big talking point is going to be the return of Sonny Bill Williams. He has been out for such a long time. He is going to be back for one last game for the Blues, and then that's probably him for the Blues. Ma'anonu is on the bench. Otede Black is back in Wellington to start, so it'll be interesting to see how he goes. Rico Ioane plays. Milani Nanai, that'll be his last game in a Blues jersey. Pulu's at 9. Akira Ioane is at 8. It's a pretty settled lineup. They've gone with that combination of Gibson and Papali'i in the loose forwards, so at the breakdown they could be challenging the Hurricanes. The lineups probably have affected the odds on this one because it is at evens. Ordinarily, the Blues going down to Wellington, it's all going to be in the Hurricanes' favour, but some of those big names either out or benched for the Hurricanes, plus the fact that the Blues have named, I guess, fairly strong team for them, for us. Yeah, I guess keeps it even. I am wearing the Blues gear because it's probably the last time. Well, it is definitely the last time, apart from, well, I suppose if they get a win, I might wear the Blues gear. Not often we beat the Hurricanes. Pretty much the last time I'm going to get to wear the Blues gear this year. So, yeah, we'll see how that one goes. As I said, a wee bit of a nothing game. But still, Blues Hurricanes, if nothing else, it should be entertaining. The next one, there's just nothing on the line. Brumbies against the Reds. Again, nothing to play for. The Brumbies will still have a potential chance of getting second overall, but realistically, the Jaguars are probably going to do the job of the Sunwolves before this game even takes place. So it is interesting that the Brumbies have kind of gone with a different tack, and for the most part, they've named a steady team with all the big names there. There's still Kurandrani, there's still Banks, there's still Lealifano Powell. A lot of these guys who have played a lot of minutes this season and potentially could have used the rest going into a quarterfinal. But it's also that balancing act of, do you give them a rest and then hope they're still sharp for the next week, or do you risk a bit of rust by leaving them out? So they've gone with the policy of keep it steady. If it ain't broke, Arnold and Carter, one of the best locking duos in Super Rugby this year. McCaffrey gets a start, which is good to see because he has been a pretty standout player. Valtini is still there as well, and he is fit, so good on him for getting some games under his belt as well, the young man. For the Reds, their last game of the season, the double try scorer last week, heartbreaker for the Blues. Higginbotham is moved to the bench this week. Naivalu is on the bench. Front row is Smith, Murphy, and Tupou, so we'll see how they go up against that Brumbies 4-pack. McGann and Hegarty continue that combo where McGann's at 10 and Hegarty's at 15. Hegarty usually doing the kicking, pretty much always doing the kicking. Karevi and Feawai Sautia is a very useful midfield. News that Karevi is Gomberger, so it's his last game for the Reds because he's going overseas after the World Cup. That's finally, they called it the worst kept secret in Australian rugby, so yep, that's been confirmed the last I read. But yeah, despite them naming a pretty strong team, the Reds, it's still the Brumbies by 9, and I guess that reflects the fact that they are at home and the Brumbies are not playing a weakened team. So yeah, the Brumbies are doing a very good job. And yeah, we'll see how far they can go into the playoffs. The next one is the Stormers against the Sharks. And this one is absolutely not a nothing game. This is do or die. For the Stormers, they need a win or a draw. And they are through, whereas the Sharks need a win. So you can't all get wins. Who is going to take it? That is going to be an interesting one. I'll start with the Sharks first because the big news there is that Rob du Preez is starting at 10, but it's not a nepotism thing. It is an injury thing. Kuan Bosch has an ankle injury, so he is not able to play this week. So it's down to Rob du Preez. He's not had the best second half of the season, or kind of 2/3, but I still think he's a good player, man. He can play better than he has been playing. So we'll see if he's able to shine in this pressure cooker game. That means, though, that Fussy comes back at fullback, which is good news. Van Heerden's in the second row. The Beast is back as well at loose head. So there is some good news there for the Sharks. In terms of the Stormers, you'll see that Stundar's getting the start. I think, again, Stormers fans probably happy with that. Vermaak is inside him. Otherwise, it seems pretty stable. Mbanambi kits off. Malherbe in the front row. That's all Springboks. It's still Johan du Toit because brother is still not available. Engelbrecht and Dalender in the midfield. So, yeah, this one seems like a pretty tight one. Stormers by 2 is what the bookies have got. Sharks traditionally play better away from home. Stormers, I haven't actually taken a statistical look at their current season, but generally much better at home. It's a tough one to pick, that one. Generally, when in doubt, you go with the home side, right? But as I said, the Sharks tend to play better away from home. We will see. Yeah, I wouldn't be putting money on that game. That one is going to be very intense. I think I will definitely have to watch the full version for that game because it's going to be a cracker. And the last one, the Bulls up against the Lions. Now, this is an interesting one because the people who've done the analysis say that the Lions need 1 point to be guaranteed a spot, and the Bulls are all but guaranteed. And everyone just says all but guaranteed, but not any more detail on that. Is all but guaranteed meaning guaranteed, or is there a perfect scenario where the Bulls don't make it? If it's guaranteed, then Portageman looks pretty clever for bringing Pollard back for that last game where they got that draw. That one extra point seems to have been crucial from what everyone is saying. Interestingly, I just checked again before I started the video. The Lions haven't named their squad as yet, so I'm not sure how they're going to line up, but I would imagine they'll be fielding a pretty strong team as much as they can. There's going to be no Cocker Smith because he is injured. I think it's his birthday today as well. For the Bulls, I think if you're a Bulls fan, you'll be definitely encouraged by at least 3 of the names on this team sheet. So you got Vermeulen, he's back. You got Gallant, he's back, and Pollard is still there from last week as well. So very key players. Snyman is still there in the second row. Kiboka and Yukani Visaki. Yeah, that's more or less. Is that more or less a full strength Bulls squad? Who are we missing? That seems. Well, obviously there's no. What's his name? Ludiaka, but he's been gone for a long time now. So it's Kirsten in the second row alongside Sneyman, but otherwise, it's a pretty solid looking Bulls squad. They've gone with Warner at number 9 this week, and Funsale is on the bench, so there's no Papia. Yeah. Interesting looking games, man. It's my wife's birthday today, actually, and because tonight's games, the Friday games, are slightly, do I want to say more important? Do I want to say tastier in terms of their potential outcomes? Like the Highlanders and the Waratahs still have chances. The Rebels and the Chiefs is a knockout. I'm not taking her out tonight, but I am going to take her out tomorrow. Probably during this kind of period, so I may miss some of my Blues playing in their final game of the season. But as I said, in terms of overall importance, that game is not up there, which is disappointing for a Blues fan, but not entirely unexpected. Anyway, it's time for me to get ready. I will be doing a live stream of the Chiefs' visit to the Rebels in Melbourne tonight, if I can get all that set up. So I did it last week, so no reason I shouldn't be able to do it this week. So yeah, if you guys are free during that game, join me on there. We'll watch the game. It should be a really good one because it is do or die. How do you guys think these games are going to go? As I said, very mixed bag. Obviously, that Stormers and Sharks one seems to be the game to watch of that lot, just based on how desperate both these teams are going to be. But hey, there still should be a bit of entertainment value all round. Once again, thank you to Jesse for sending through that Brumbies gear. It is much appreciated. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.